On Authentic Ag, we begin a two-part series talking with Dr. Roger McEowen. This week's topic, what's going on in the cattle market when it comes to interpretation of those antitrust laws. And we'll also have features from the Kansas Soybean Commission and Kansas Department of Agriculture and our weekly check-in with folks at the Kansas Livestock Association. Brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, kfb.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat, online at kswheat.com.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on three main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
Agricultural news from agview.net. The May World Ag Supply and Demand Estimate report predicts higher corn and soybean production compared to a year ago. The corn crop projected to be at a record 16 billion bushels, up from last year on the increased area and return to trend yield. Yield projection 178.5 bushels, with total corn supplies predicted 18.1 billion bushels. Season average farm price is projected $3.20 a bushel. That's a 40-cent drop from last year and the lowest since 06-07. Soybean crop projected to be 4.125 billion bushels. That's up 568 million from last year. Yield expected to be 49.8 bushels per acre. Soybean supplies are predicted to rise 5% from last year, 4.72 billion bushels. Season average soybean price projected $8.20 a bushel, down 30 cents from the previous marketing year. USDA says total wheat production will be 3% lower than last year, coming in at 1.866 billion bushels, with the all-wheat yield at 49.5 bushels per acre, down 2.2 bushels from last year. The projected season average farm price for wheat, $4.60 a bushel. That is unchanged from last year. Well, year-to-year farm bankruptcies increased 23%, according to a recent released data report from the U.S. courts. American Farm Bureau Federation did a market intel report, and it shows a total of 627 bankruptcies during a period of ended in March for the last 12 months. That's the fifth consecutive year of an increase in Chapter 12 bankruptcies. More than 50% of those filings were in 13-state Midwest region, 19% in the Southeast. Currently, the increase in bankruptcies not related to the coronavirus pandemic, but that's certain to change as U.S. unemployment is projected to reach some 14.5% in the second and third quarters. That will cause a decline in off-farm income, and that could affect farmers, notably those small and medium-sized, and their ability to service a record $425 billion in debt, because many farms do rely on off-farm income as a stabilizing force. And the European Union is looking to revive trade negotiations with the U.S. to help bring the trade disputes between the two sides to an end. The EU is proposing a joint agenda that covers everything from aircraft subsidies to lobster tariffs to shared reserves of medical supplies. EU Trade Commissioner Phil Hogan told U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer that there is a scope to reach an agreement. Before COVID-19, Hogan was optimistic that a mini deal could have been reached with Washington that would have addressed President Trump's complaints about the EU trade barriers facing U.S. exports, especially those ag exports to the EU. You can find more ag information online at agview.net. Stay with us We'll have more in a moment.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but yet we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we're glad to answer it and work with you.
I'm Bob Swartz, and I've devoted the last 43 years to helping Kansans reach their retirement goals and to protect the family farm. At Bob Swartz Financial, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always dreamed of. Our team of professionals can help you create an efficient strategy using a variety of investment vehicles to help you address your financial needs and your concerns. Bob Swartz Financial values commitment and transparency.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
And our guest is Dr. Roger McEowen, who is a Kansas Farm Bureau professor of agriculture, law, and taxation at the Washburn School of Law in Topeka. Roger, thanks for being with us. And one subject we wanted to get your expertise on, and that's what's going on, what we're seeing in the cattle markets. And there's a lot of discussion of research and other things being done in D.C. to try to figure out why we saw such huge disparity, not only a year ago after the fire at Holcomb, but recently in why box beef prices are so high and why what the farmers and ranchers are receiving cash-wise from the big packers, and some are crying this is an antitrust violation.
Well, this is, as I pointed out in a recent article that I wrote and posted on my blog, this is an issue that has been characteristic of the cattle market and packing industry since 1888. And so we're going back 132 years where Congress expressed concerns, the same concerns that we're hearing today about pricing practices amongst the major packers. And we still have high concentration levels amongst the four largest beef processors, just like we did 132 years ago. That's just the names have changed. We had 5 then that controlled the market. We've got the 4 largest ones right now that control 80% of the U.S. beef processing in this country. And as you said, on boxed beef prices, according to the USDA, boxed beef prices have recently more than doubled, while at the same time your live captive cattle prices have dropped about 20% over the same time frame. So that raises some concerns, particularly from those that aren't necessarily well schooled in economics, but even those that are trained in economics, the levels of market concentration do raise some concerns, and it allows for, and I'm not saying it's occurring, but allows for the possibility of price manipulation. And I would just say there's nothing sinister in and of itself about a packing plant having large margins because of an inability of the industry to process the available supply. So there's nothing sinister in that. The plants didn't shut down because of price manipulation this current time. They shut down because the workers were showing up sick. I won't say that they got sick at the plant, because I don't believe that's knowable or not. But there's no duty on the part of meat packing plants to overpay producers to acquire product. And so that's kind of a fundamental principle here that we have to keep in mind. Now, that doesn't answer the question as to whether there's price manipulation going on that's a violation of the Packers and Stockyards Act. That's a separate issue that's out there. So I think you have two issues that are involved.
We're talking with Roger McEowen, agricultural law professor at the Washburn School of Law. Let's take a break, and we'll talk more about this topic in just a moment.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
And our guest is Dr. Roger McEowen, who ag law specialist at the Washburn School of Law. And so I guess the next question is, what role does Packers and Stockyards play in all this? Because I think that's maybe the missing link that isn't brought up maybe enough in trying to figure this all out.
Yeah, I think that's the key point, Ken, because a key provision in the Packers and Stockyards Act, even though it's very broad legislation, but the key provision says that a packer cannot use any unfair or unjustly discriminatory or deceptive practice or device or engage in any course of business with the purpose or with the effect, it's the word "or" is in there, with the effect of manipulating or controlling prices or creating a monopoly in the buying and selling of livestock. And so it's that effect language that is the key. Do you have to prove that, what do you have to prove in showing that there is a violation of Packers and Stockyards Act? Does it mean what it says? If you show that they have effectively created a monopoly or in effect have price manipulated, do you win your case? Well, some may remember in 2004, the jury in the Pickett versus IBP Tyson case came back with a $1.2 million verdict for the cattle producers, saying, yeah, you just showed that Tyson IBP had manipulated price. They had controlled price. They showed the effect of that. That's all you had to show. But then the court tossed that, and later courts have followed suit in saying, no, effect means you have to show an intent to affect price and without any good business reason for doing so. And it has to affect the market as a whole, which is a very high standard. And that's really where the focus has been the last 8-10 years from a regulatory standpoint at the GIPSA level, the sub-agency under USDA, in promulgating regs as to whether it's an effect reg or whether you have to show more than just an effect on price. And so that's why the current request for DOJ to look into this again is there, because they've never really settled that issue.
There's a lot of discussion in the countryside of maybe regional packers would make their way, but some are saying, could there be retaliation from these big four if you try to do that? It kind of goes back to where we were some 30, 35 years ago. Would that be a possibility? Not only from just a structural standpoint, but from a legal standpoint, to have a true level playing field?
Well, the agricultural producers, and this includes cattlemen, this includes hog producers, they have an exemption from antitrust law if they want to use it. And that's in the Capper-Volstead Act. They can form a cooperative and they can price manipulate, they can create a monopoly with respect to the selling of their ag products, whatever they want to do. There is an exemption for them that was specifically put in Capper-Volstead Act. And I think they need to start looking at the possibility of doing that, what the cost is, can they overcome whatever it is that's prevented them from doing this in the past, and say we're going to process our own product here, whether that's hogs, whether that's cattle, and we have an exemption from antitrust law as agricultural producers to do that. This may be the time, better than any other time, for that to be investigated as a viable option.
Roger McEowen is the Kansas Farm Bureau Professor of Agriculture Law and Taxation at the Washburn School of Law in Topeka. He's been our guest. Stay with us. We'll have more coming up.
Kansas Farm Bureau has served farm families in rural Kansas for more than 100 years. We're pleased to offer new healthcare coverage choices for Kansans in 2020 through Kansas Farm Bureau Health Plans. No matter what stage of life you're in, we'll have options that fit your lifestyle. Plus, our network of providers is one of the largest available throughout the state of Kansas and beyond. For more information, including the different plans available, or to get a quote, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
The Kansas Soybean Commission is proud to sponsor research that advances our state's soybean crop through checkoff funds. One notable research project focuses on cultural weed control practices in western Kansas under dryland conditions. This study examined the impact of row spacing and seeding rates on glyphosate-resistant kochia and Palmer amaranth interference in soybeans. It also looked to determine how these factors impact grain yields and quality. Findings show that herbicides effectively controlled weed density all around, while in untreated plots, a seeding rate of 150,000 combined with 15-inch rows had the lowest observed weed density and a comparable yield to treated plots. Principal investigator Andrew Tucker of Fort Hays State University notes that combining an optimal seeding rate with an effective herbicide program should be used, regardless of row spacing, to optimize grain yields in western Kansas. How does one breed a better soybean? Another notable project, led by Dr. William Shapaw, asked this question. He and his co-investigators are looking to release new germplasm varieties to increase resistance to plant diseases like soybean cyst nematode and sudden death syndrome, plus improve seed yield. New varieties are available for commercial production and breeding programs to utilize. Information on all research projects supported by the Kansas Soybean Checkoff can be explored at www.soybeanresearchdata.com or www.soybeanresearchinfo.com.
I'm Bob Swartz, and I've devoted the last 43 years to helping Kansans reach their retirement goals and to protect the family farm. At Bob Swartz Financial, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always dreamed of. Our team of professionals can help you create an efficient strategy using a variety of investment vehicles to help you address your financial needs and your concerns. Bob Swartz Financial values commitment and transparency.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Beef has been and continues to be the single largest sector in the Kansas agriculture industry. Although the impact of the coronavirus has certainly uprooted many of our lives this spring, it hasn't stopped us from recognizing May as Beef Month, a tradition in Kansas. The Kansas Department of Agriculture is proud to support the Kansas Beef Council in celebrating Kansas beef during the month of May once again this year. Throughout this pandemic, we have seen everyone become even more aware of where their food comes from, and it has been clear just how essential the Kansas beef industry is to our state, as well as to the nation and the world. Kansas historically is a leader in beef production, ranking third in the nation with nearly 6.5 million cattle as of the first of this year. And the heritage of Kansas beef is also known throughout the world, as exports of beef and beef products from Kansas totaled $1.4 billion last year. With beef cattle in every single county in the state, it's a vital part of communities across Kansas, contributing about $12 billion directly to the state's economy. To celebrate Beef Month during May, the Kansas Beef Council has been providing consumers with grilling recipes, nutrition facts, and virtual tours on their social media channels. To create these tours, producers across the state donned GoPro video cameras and opened their operations and homes to give consumers a behind-the-scenes look at a day in the life of a Kansas rancher. These hard-working ranchers of Kansas are committed to the health, comfort, and well-being of their cattle while protecting and preserving our natural resources. So join the Kansas Department of Agriculture and enjoy some Kansas beef on your grill this May as we celebrate the important and very essential contributions of the Kansas beef industry during Kansas Beef Month.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but yet we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we'll be glad to answer it and work with you.
The Small Business Administration announced they have resumed processing economic injury disaster loan applications. Additionally, SBA will begin accepting new EIDL and EIDL advance applications on a limited basis. At this time, only agricultural business applications will be accepted due to funding limitations. EIDL offers loans of up to $2 million to help meet financial obligations and operating expenses that could have been met had the disaster not occurred. Funds only can be used for working capital necessary to enable the business to alleviate the specific economic injury and resume normal operations. Loan proceeds cannot be used to refinance long-term debt, make loan payments on other federal debts, repair physical damages, pay IRS tax penalties, or pay out dividends. Interest rates for loans are set at 4% per year, but pandemic-related rates typically have been lower. As authorized by the CARES Act, emergency EIDL advances are available within 3 days of applying. Advances can be used for several purposes, including providing paid sick leave, payroll, meeting production cost, and paying rent or mortgages on business spaces. Businesses that use these funds for permissible cost will not have to pay back the advance. While EIDL advances are capped at $10,000, SBA has further restricted them to a limit of $1,000 per employee. Those wanting to apply for the EIDL program should do so as soon as possible. The loan application can be found on the coronavirus response page at www.kla.org.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Good morning, folks. Colette here with Paragon Ag Advisors, a division of Keiko Isom. For most people, it seems like it sure has been hard to get excited about much lately. Tuesday's USDA WASDE did not do much to help with that. Overall, the report was neutral to maybe even slightly friendly, but not friendly enough to push markets upward. In fact, early the next morning, markets were down almost 10 cents in soybeans and over 10 cents in wheat. When markets are down and we're busy with planting, it can be very easy to put marketing on the back burner. But we have to remind ourselves of what we already know to be true. Some farmers somewhere will have a commodity to sell come fall, so the marketing must continue. Looking at the year ahead, weather is going to be a big factor these next 60 or so days. Historically, May through July is when we see the seasonal sort of weather rallies. However, we remain in uncharted territory as far as COVID goes, and China seems to be getting a slow start on holding up the trade deal. So it will be interesting to see how the market unfolds. If you have any uncertainties regarding your marketing, whether it be with the stuff you're paying storage on or getting this year's crop going, give us a call at 888-452-8751. I'm Colette at Paragon, and we look forward to helping you.
Well, that's our show this week. If you have questions, concerns, or show suggestions, email me, Ken Rogers, ken@agview.net. Well, we're all important, so wash your hands, check in on your neighbor, be kind to one another. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Authentic Ag.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, and we're glad to answer and work with you.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.